So hey guys, happy Saturday. Hope you guys are all having a good weekend, and I hope you guys did well in the midterm. Um, this is a pretty dynamic project, and been working on it for a long time, and I know you guys have been as well. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to talk about the project today, and I have a little foreword. So I chose the chapter about the distribution and importance of water, and that it is crucial to life and death. And basically, the foreword is after my service in the U.S. Army, I took my young family to Washington, D.C. area and was working at a high professional level. That was a great area full of things to do, like museums and great restaurants and all the monuments there. It really wasn't the place we wanted to be. My wife and I were both from Lakeland, Florida, and we chose to come back and really be a part of this community and purchased a home here and all that jazz. But I left DC without a real solid way forward. And I know what you're thinking. This has nothing to do with water or the importance of it or the project, but just bear with me. So I came back and I was applying for a lot of jobs and found a job with the city of Lakeland in the Lakes and Stormwater Division. And this project came about at the time, right when I was leading projects to basically control lake levels and think about clean water and all this stuff. And I'm like looking at these water fixtures right in front of me that are literally the same ideas as what we see in the past, some 5,000 years ago in ancient Egypt, and looking at water as a survival mechanism and a socio-political thing. And so then I applied for other jobs, and I finally, about a month ago, I started getting contacts from this program manager in Tampa. He works for United States Central Command, and I got a job as a strategic planner, working at USCENTCOM at my highest professional level, which is good for me because as a person, you kind of want to work at your highest professional level to kind of, meet your needs as a professional. So in this job, it was pretty wild because we talked about the dam in Iraq in what if the name is not coming to me right now? Hold on, I was trying to talk outside of my text. Yeah, sorry, Mosul. Jeez Louise, I'm sorry, I forgot about that name. But yeah, the Mosul Dam is one of the most critical pieces of infrastructure within Iraq. Not only does it provide hydroelectric power for the people, but it provides water control mechanisms for the society. And the security and condition of this dam is very, very vital to all of the cities and communities and villages south of Mosul, because if the dam were for some reason to fail and all the water would rush south, large areas of Mosul will be under 2 feet of water and 1 foot of water, in communities to the south, and all of their agricultural practices would be ruined. They would have no clean drinking water and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty important, as you can see. So I'll get to the meat and potatoes of my presentation now. And so I'll start with the thesis. That was my foreword. Basically, the need for a steady supply of clean water for agricultural and human consumption directly was catalyzed by human civilization through technological achievements, political firsts, and the study of weather practices, basically the study of seasons throughout. So our historical findings are widespread and thorough. We can see that high advanced technologies have been achieved to promote the equal and ethical spread of water throughout ancient civilizations. In Figure 1, let's get our text here. You're probably already looking at yours. Just wanted to look at it again. So these are figures 1 and 2 that I'm about to talk about. We see aerial photography from above, and the one on the left is the Roman imagery from above, and the one on the right is the Mesopotamian one. And they both indicate a couple key important things. The Romans and the Mesopotamians kind of share similar ideas, even though they're spread apart by many years. But basically, we see plots of land and canals that direct and control water flow from one source to another. And yeah, let me get back to the text here. It showcases how organized the Romans were on the left, and and we look at the photo to see even distribution of water throughout the seemingly flat farmland. The plots of land are unevenly spaced, which means they knew exactly how much water each plot of land needed to reach fruition. In the figure on the left, we see a similar piece of imagery, but this one's with satellites. And I always love to see an ethical use of satellite technology, especially in a historical use. But it showcases the same things. It shows that a floodplain in Mesopotamia with agricultural canals dug throughout. It shows organized chaos in the photo, but I would argue that they knew exactly what they were doing, and I believe firmly that the Romans, I believe like the Romans, the Mesopotamians knew exactly how much water to put exactly where, just like them. The water would pass by locks and dams for control and release in the drier months. This no longer occurs due to the modern day hydroelectric dams in the region, but in the time they knew exactly what to do with their technology. So then we look to the next set of figures, which I'm going to talk about these ones right here on the right. All of the actual physical technological achievements. The shaduf assisted in lifting water through counterweights. The farmers lower buckets into the rivers and then be assisted with the water weight by pulling it out on the counterweights, or by the counterweights. The sakia, or I guess that's how you would say it, was a early well mechanism. It used a series of gears and screws to manipulate water to the surface. These structures were often powered by donkeys or oxen, because it was a very, very vast undertaking. This would enable farmers and livestock men to serve their crops or their livestock in times of drought. And the next one we're talking about, just a reminder here, we're talking about Figure 11, Picture 6, and it's a pallet chain pump, and basically it sequentially pulls water horizontally out of the river. And this is huge. It not only allowed them to feed their livestock, but it also enabled them to water their crops by pulling water out horizontally as opposed to directionally with the river. And then we're going to look at the Noria, which is on the same page 11. It is a traditional water wheel idea, but in its day it was literally a huge deal. This is a passive idea where water would flow and push the wheels in cycles. It would bring water up from the fast-flowing river, and then it would dump it into a trough that would be angled downward and would flow in the direction it was pointed. This created water pressure in later Roman society. The water pressure allowed for things like air conditioning in later Roman society. These devices often broke and needed repair. And now I'm talking about all the devices as a whole. These are crude mechanical devices often made out of wood and soft metals and things of that nature. So they would often break, but by historical standard, nothing of its kind was ever created, and it unlocks so much human potential. These examples are awesome here. And at this time, if we were in a class, I'd pause and ask you guys questions, but since we're not, I'll drive on. We see some political firsts in the figures and texts. These are later throughout the document. I won't flip to them because it's getting out of hand, and I'm kind of running out of time here. So we'll look at the couple texts, two texts specifically. Through the hieroglyphic interpretation, this is figure 10 in the text. We see a kind of dictation in the year 3100 BC. It's quite some time ago. But we see this guy who is depicted as a pharaoh, and he's holding a tool and he's directing slaves to dig these ditches. And below the photo, you see these farmlands and these crops. Actually, I'm looking at it right now, and it's showing the importance and the reverence of these pharaohs to be good stewards of the water, and to always impress upon people that come after this pharaoh to the way to water your crops and all that kind of stuff. So then we look. Let me get back to my text here. We look at the King Harambe and the Emperor Claudius, both who understood the importance to dictate the control of water. King Harambe said, if a man neglects to maintain his dikes and does not strengthen it, it breaks, and if it breaks, his dike and the water carries away the farmland. The man whose dike the break has been made in shall replace the grain in which has been damaged. So, breaking away from my text here, that shows to me that there's a tremendous amount of stewardship and accountability placed on his people. So if you see a lazy farmer or a lazy waterman not doing his job, and then later down the road, this rather typical storm comes and washes all their crops away downstream, that guy is going to get punished for not doing his job as a steward of the agricultural systems that they had in place, which is awesome because it's very old. And then so we look at Emperor Claudius's statements in the text. Those resonated with me quite well just because of what he was able to do with this policy. He mobilized 30,000 men and women, potentially, to do this. He said he finished the drainage canal, which was 3 miles in length. Imagine that, 3 miles in length, partially by leveling and tunneling in a mountain. The work of great difficulty required 11 years and 30,000 men at work without interruption. So this is from text segment 13 from the Wisner chapter. I mean, just think about that. 30,000 men over 30 years, excuse me. And what a feat. And it was all to help the Roman Empire solidify clean drinking water and maintain their current levels of infrastructure. The text says that Emperor Claudius had, very few water achievements, but they were all great, solid, and paramount achievements. They weren't many small ones. They were a couple grand ones, which I always like. I'd rather have a couple good things than a lot of bad things. It just makes sense. So I'll kind of go to the next point. Is basically all these societies that we see, Egypt, Chinese, Mesopotamia, they all had a deep understanding with the way the weather systems would influence the water flow in their societies, and they all capitalized on them in several ways. All of these figures elucidate that point, from the Egyptian hieroglyphs to the technological achievements with the contraptions like the shaduf or the sequoia. They all knew what to do when the rains would come in their own respective ways. What would happen to the soil, what would happen to the farmland, and where to make the dikes and the damming structures when the rains would come. So they had this really, really innate, inborn connection with the weather systems, which I think is really fascinating as well. So in conclusion, we see the steady supply for clean water for agricultural and human consumption directly catalyzed by human civilization through technological achievements, political firsts, and the study of weather seasons. The echo of historical direction from these studies still rings true today. Like I said, through the city of Lakeland, where I was working for a brief time, we still are controlling water for agricultural, for human consumption, for crops, all of those types of things. And even from a security planning standpoint, we see things like protecting a hydroelectric dam and things of that nature being very important still in a socio-political environment. Without water, we're dead. And I hope you guys are having a great experience in this class, and I hope you guys have good luck on the midterm, and thank you for allowing me time to present to you guys today. See you next time.